Well, welcome everybody. My name is Michael Hilkemeyer from ICTE Solutions Australia, and it's my pleasure and privilege, and I really mean this, Nikolaos, to have with me another digital leader in education, digital learning leader in education. I'll just use your title now, Dr. Nikolaos Bogoannidis.
Bogoannidis, that's correct.
Bogoannidis. Oh, yeah. I'm glad I got it right. Welcome so much, Nikolaos. It's like I said, it's a real pleasure. And it's a fantastic opportunity to learn from you, to tap into your expertise and knowledge and experience. So to begin with, I just want to look at, go through and explain to my viewers who you are and where you're from. So you're currently, you're the digital learning specialist, and you are the head of digital practices at St. John's College in Preston.
Correct.
Did you know that, like, when I first started teaching years ago, because like Preston was where I first went to for my teaching placement. Well, actually, Preston wasn't my placement. It was more of my first teaching job there.
Oh, right.
In Preston. So there you go. We got
What a coincidence.
Yeah. I lived in Melbourne for at least 4 years while I was doing my studies, and began my teaching career down in Melbourne. So I would assume that a lot has changed in the area. I have actually looked up my old school, and I think it's actually what happened to it? It amalgamated with another school, and then that campus closed down. So it's no longer in existence anymore. But yeah, there we go. Small world, isn't it?
It is a very small world, yes. And Preston is developing very fast with high-rise buildings on High Street.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
I know where that is. Yeah.
You know, it's getting bigger and bigger every year, so they need more housing, and there are lots of new developments.
Oh, awesome. And are you so have you finished now for the year, or?
Just finishing off today. So today is my last day at school. I was just doing some preparation for our online learning management system for next year, and organizing some technologies for 10-year teachers who are joining us as the school is expanding, and it's really exciting. So I want to be ready for the new year when it comes, and it's not very far away.
Oh, no, definitely not. Like, before we know it, it is just, the holidays always seem to, for me at least, start off very slowly, and then they get faster, and then before you know it, school starts again. So yes, you never can have, cannot have too much preparation. I understand that completely. Anyway, so I want to ask you, Nikolaos, about, first of all, in the early years education, what sort of technology teachers putting into implementing into their practice currently where you work?
Well, in early years, basically, the technology that we have is to support student learning in terms of literacy and numeracy. It is really important that we define what is learning these days, because a lot of things are changing. And if we believe that learning is transferring knowledge from short memory or working memory to long-term memory, then retrieving that knowledge and applying it, we using that definition, we use technologies that will support student learning in literacy and numeracy and problem-solving skills. So in literacy, we've got some online platforms that support students in literacy and numeracy. We also have standalone apps. We're using iPads in the junior school, and those apps all are designed to support different curriculum areas. The teachers too use digital technologies to support the students in terms of creating content. And lately, they have been experimenting with artificial intelligence tools, again, designing activities to expand students' knowledge and skills in that area.
So what sort of issues have you had, with the use of technology in early childhood, and then how have you been able to help the teachers there, overcome those hurdles?
We've been pretty lucky at our school, and we have a very uniform program in terms of the use of the iPads, as well as a learning management system, where teachers can publish activities for students to develop their knowledge or to develop their prior knowledge before they come into class. We haven't had many issues. We always look at the needs of the students, and that is our starting point. Our starting point is never the technology itself. And we identify the needs, and we try to address those needs with explicit teaching strategies, as well as digital technologies. We want students to be supported in the classroom all the time, as well as when they go home, that there is an online modules. If the parents and the students need to access those modules, it's available online. So in terms of, I'm not sure whether you were referring to technical issues. It's as I said, we hardly had any problems. It's been a good setup. The setup has been addressed by the school for the students, so that it is safe use of digital technologies. We do block out any sites that we feel that are not appropriate for that age group, but the students still have plenty of access in terms of doing research and putting projects together and being able to then share their findings with their peers. That's, in a nutshell. I think if you have a good technical support, you can avoid any problems in terms of technical problems. And then it's a matter of really addressing the skill sets of the teachers, as well as their mindset, in terms of being able to make links between what are the issues that I have in class in terms of student learning or gaps in their knowledge, and then what tools can I use to address or to help address those issues.
With the early learning activities that are taking place, where teachers integrate the use of technology, how do you support them in being able to progress the capabilities in with the children themselves?
Capabilities as in terms of using the digital technologies?
That's correct, yes.
Well, the students are, as you know, they're not afraid of experimenting, and they're very easy to actually learn new skills in terms of how to use PowerPoint, how to do some research, how to put a project together, how to launch apps, how to use an app for coding, and downloading the program onto a robot. It's pretty easy. We just immerse them. We have a digital learning specialist, which is myself, Plus, we provide in-class support for teachers as needed. So we are able to go into the classroom and model how to use a specific app, how to put a project together, how to do some safe search. And we work with both the teachers and the students in the classroom, as well as providing teachers workshops outside of the classroom on a needs basis. And those workshops are always timely. For example, if they have to develop some assessments, and those assessments have to be placed online, we show them how to create a rubric, how to put that rubric, make it available to parents and students, how to use it to mark students' work, and then how to release the marks as well as comments for the students to develop their skills further. So it's a very supportive environment for both the students and the teachers. And as I said, the students have no issue. They run with anything we give them, but they still need that more knowledgeable leader, who is the teacher in the classroom, as well the technical specialist, to make sure that they're using the technologies productively and maximizing the benefit for them.
So you've provided some examples already about how you've used technology. What other sort of examples, case studies can you provide where teachers have had success with integrating technology into learning activities and the outcomes that came from them?
Mm-hmm. So in literacy, for example, in the prep or foundation 1 and 2, they do a lot of what we call phonics or synthetic phonics. So there are lots of apps that will actually support that area, and we make sure those apps are integrated in the lessons, and it supports exactly what the teachers are teaching. Another area would be digital technologies, in terms of teaching students how to code using block coding. So we use Scratch Junior, which is one of the apps. We also use MBlock, and we also use robotics. We're using, and I will name the product, Cody Rocky. I'm not sure if you heard about it, where the students in junior school can learn how to coding, block coding, and they progress from prep with B-bots or blue bots. They might then graduate to a different product, and as they come along with Cody Rocky, we teach them more advanced skills in year 7, and then we move them on to Python, which is a written language. But it's all, if they understand the basics using block coding, then it becomes much more easier. So we use a sequential development in literacy, numeracy, coding, and all the other subjects as well.
Yep. Okay. So with primary education, as we know, like, it's the use of technology in learning activities is very much embedded in the Australian curriculum. I think recently, as you might already know, like they've changed the general capability of ICT now to, I think it's now called digital learning capabilities, with slight variations, in what they've done. So it's very well there, a key part of what teachers need to work with in primary education. When students move from the early childhood areas into primary, I think one of the main areas that that really needs to be achieved in schools is to be able to ensure that progression in capabilities between the different year levels, so that they don't go backwards, to keep moving forwards, and so on. In what ways do you support that progression occurring where you work now?
Let me clarify some of our philosophy here. When you walk into a classroom, it is not a completely sequential program in terms of supporting those students with those capabilities. We start with what the students individually bring to our school. Some are very tech savvy. They've been, before even they start schooling, they've been playing with iPhones, iPads. They know how to navigate the different apps, how to launch an app, how to close an app. They know how to use 2 different apps at the same time. They even know how to hide some of the activities that they do on those on those devices. So we are strong believers in educating students on how to use technologies safely and to optimize their learning. As I explained, they come in and they bring in different skills and different knowledge. So what you have is a kind of a rhizomatic way of teaching and learning, where there is no beginning, no ending, no middle. It's all individualized. And that's what we try to capture in every student, is where they are at, and we start from there. Our iPads in junior school are completely locked down with only educational tools downloaded onto their devices. We have a very well filtered web browser where students can do research, and the teachers, while they're teaching a specific subject, at the same time they specify to the students what app they're going to use for that session, how they will launch that app, what they need to do, and how they can capture that knowledge and then transfer it either to pen and paper or to another app for a presentation. So it's been done seamlessly, always taking into account what the students bring to school, as well as what the needs are for that subject. Technology is not our focus, but the learning is our focus. So we ask the teachers to actually guide the students step by step what needs to be done and how long for that specific session they need to use the technology to support their learning.
I think what you said, Nikolaos, about how the every student comes to the school with different levels of capabilities. That is just so so true today. In a very technological world that we live in. And that is just not just for primary education, but for all levels of education. Early childhood teachers, even they experience tech savvy students, children at various levels, and it's one of the reasons why I encourage people to to always try and gauge from the start what levels of capabilities children are. Have they used this sort of technology? What sort of software have they used? What activities have they done? And then to share that information too with other teachers too, so they can say, well, okay, look, that this student in year 3 has done these activities with this technology. Let's progress those capabilities and work on a bit more about that. So that is a fantastic here to hear that 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 every student is individualized and works through with the teacher, what is best for them in that manner. Can you provide some case study examples of how technology is used effectively in the primary education where you work?
Okay. Let's say in the 5/6s, they might need to write an essay, a persuasive piece of text. The students would use an app called Mind Map, where the teacher has taken them through the different sections of persuasive text. So the students will actually do the brainstorming first. They brainstorm the different sections. They brainstorm the vocabulary they're going to be using, and that helps them with clarifying what it is that they're going to put down on a piece of paper and guide them through the writing. The teacher at the same time can also give them more feedback while they're developing their mind maps and clarifying their ideas in terms of vocabulary, the different sections of a persuasive text, a call to action at the end. So it's a very specific app. Next, the teacher may ask them to do it with pen and paper from that mind map, which they can print out and use it as a guide. Or they might use the iPad itself to write the text, while the teacher still keeps giving that feedback to the students. And they also use the technology to then, at the end, share with their peers as the audience the piece of writing that they've come up with. And then they also get some positive feedback from the students and constructive feedback from the teachers, so that we avoid any conflicts. So we always encourage the teacher to develop an environment where students can share, and they focus on the best of that piece of writing, and then the teacher can actually give the constructive feedback to the students. In a nutshell, how they use it in that respect. In other areas, for example, if they are doing humanities and they're doing a research project, again, the teacher will take them through in terms of what terms to use when they're doing the research, what to do if something pops up which is probably not appropriate, in terms of closing the browser or advising the teacher, and then how to do a note-taking, which again, they could develop a mind map with pen and paper or just take notes, but the teacher is the one who will guide the students on how to do that part. In the younger classes, we talked about phonics, so that could be a lot of repetitive but enjoyable and challenging activities presented to them as a game, where they actually develop the knowledge that they're required to develop. In literacy, that could be teachers focusing on recall of number facts. So we have apps like Quick Math, where the students are provided with different exercises on the screen, and they quickly write the answer, and they compete against themselves and against their peers. But it's all about almost like in a game-like, so gamification of education, which the students love. And if they don't want to be part of a game where the whole class is actually competing against each other, they just compete against themselves and their own time. So these are some of the examples that we use in primary school.
Yeah. With that sort of those examples that you've just discussed, have there been any instances where you've been surprised about the outcome that has come from those, or?
I have been really surprised with in terms of the students learning their timetables with that app that I've named before, Quick Math, and how fast they actually can recall the number fact. So when you fire out 5 times 5, quickly they know the answer and they can put it down. So what this is helping them is to then, if you give them a word problem, the students are actually able to focus on the problem. There is no cognitive overload, and they can then do all the abstraction and filter out the essential from the non-essential information and solve the problem much faster. So if the students develop that quick response, it really helps them with being confident in problem solving in terms of maths. So yes, it's been surprising. But also in terms of student active engagement, and when I talk about engagement, I'm talking about intellectually engage with what's in front of them, and because students actually get the immediate feedback, and there are no misconceptions that carries on if they don't get that feedback straight away. So if used properly, technology is really a great partner for the teachers and for the students. But everything begins with the users, both the teacher and the students, how they use technology. In terms of research in that space, there have been in the past a lot of ill-conceived questions in terms of, is AI effective in teaching and learning? Is such and such an app effective? The answer is always, it depends. It depends on the context, how the teachers use it, how the students use it. So I will re-emphasize, we always want to start with the students in mind, their needs, and how the technology can support knowledge and skills development.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you too, because you mentioned already earlier the best way to overcome any technical issues. Have you experienced any pedagogical issues in terms of use of digital technology, and what have you done for that?
Pedagogical issues. We have whole school professional development sessions where we actually talk about these issues. For example, as I said before, we start with the student in mind and not with the technology. We examine what the needs are and how technologies and what specific tools can address those issues. From a pedagogical perspective, we also need to have what I call a signature curriculum that will actually be useful for that student. And technology only comes in after the pedagogy, as well as the what we need to deliver and to enhance that part. What we are noticing is a shift from how can I put it? Sorry.
That's all right.
There's a shift from the use of technology to what the students need, and that is our real focus. Out in the media, I mean, even nowadays, there's a lot of talk about AI, but again, I think it's there. Nothing has changed. The game has not changed. It is up to the teacher in the classroom and what pedagogical perspectives they bring to teaching and learning, how useful that technology will be. And what we are shifting to is from the more knowledgeable Adam to the virtual more knowledgeable Adam. That is finding tools that will specific to specific students that will play the role of the virtual more knowledgeable Adam for specific concepts And we're not talking about everything here. The teacher's still in control. They decide what tools will be used. But in the absence of a teacher or a more knowledgeable other, what is the virtual more knowledgeable other that can actually assist that student? Or where do they go for that specific knowledge that they need? So that is the shift from the more knowledgeable other to the virtual more knowledgeable.
Yep. Secondary education. How does technology integration differ in secondary education to other levels of education, primary and so on? Is there much difference, or do you see a shift?
Yes, we do. Now, in our school, as I said, in the primary school, we've got iPads. Everything is controlled by the school in terms of educational tools that have been installed. There are no games. It's a pure educational tool. In the secondary school, we have what we call the bring your own device. Students bring their own devices. When they connect to our network, we've got filters in place that will block social media, that will block any inappropriate sites. The students are, as you know, more tech savvy. We give them choices in terms of what tools they want to use, instead of saying to them, this is the tool. We might introduce new tools, but then in the end, what we are assessing again is the learning and learning growth. Now, if someone wants to use Canva or PowerPoint or another tool, it is up to them to demonstrate that knowledge. And a lot of students are actually finding their own tools. They're even creating their own learning environment. And again, there's a shift there. We might have a learning management system, but those students are actually creating their own personal learning management system. They know what tools to use for different subjects, and they know how to check whether what they provided, the answer is the best answer that they have provided. I mean, recently we had students walking out of examinations and just scanning the answers, the questions for the maths, and then the app will actually provide them with the workout step by step, and then they say, "Oh yes, I've done this one. Oh, that was great. This is exactly what I have done." So the students are becoming independent.
Yeah.
And again, there's a big shift from here's a tool that everyone must use to students wisely making choices of what tool suits them, and not the technology is not standing in the way, but helping them. And again, there's a bit of a rhizomatic philosophy behind it, where again the students are at different levels, and there's no beginning, no middle, no end. And our focus is our curriculum and where we want the students to go to, and that step-by-step success that they can experience, so that in the end they are successful in whatever they're doing in education. It's really exciting. Some people might be afraid of it.
Yeah.
But again, if you establish routines in the secondary and we say, this is the task, you are allowed to use whatever tools you want to, but this is the success criteria. So if the success criteria is for them to be able to solve a problem, a tool that will solve the problem for them is not the most appropriate tool. So we make that very clear to them, and they understand it, because they know that when they go for a written examination, that tool will not be there. So they actually need to develop their knowledge. But it also helps them when they go home, because at home, probably the parents don't have knowledge all the time to help them, and they know which tools to use to help them out. So yes, that's our basic philosophy. It's all about educating the students and then being aware of their own learning needs and whether they're progressing or not. and yes, establishing routines and rules and keep educating them. Things will keep changing all the time, and we can't stop it.
No, no, we can't.
No.
Those are wise words, Nikos. Very wise words. I want to ask you finally, is if there's one bit of advice that you could offer a teacher of any sort of level of capability, that might be hesitant, that might be experienced, what sort of advice would you give a teacher in terms of integrating technology, and how would you convince them in terms of the benefits of using technology in the curriculum?
Okay. Again, let's go back to the learners, and they will need to define what is learning for them. And then any tool that they integrate, does it match with their idea of what learning is? If it doesn't, then they have to choose a different tool. I gave you that specific example in terms of if the students need to be able to solve problems, they can't get a tool that will solve the problems for them, but they can get a tool that will guide them step by step on how to solve the problem. And then they have to teach those students to ask the right questions to their own learning. The other thing is to be aware of a lot of tools that are being pushed down to education. For example, the other day I found a tool on for a mobile device where the rating was 5+, and it was using AI. And then when you go and read the policies, you find out that they will capture everything that the student does. They will sell it to third party, and they have no control as to who they sell it to, or what the third party will do with that app. Although it is a useful app, then they have to consider also the ethical considerations and privacy issues there. The other thing to consider is that things are changing dramatically. One tool will not fit to every student. So students you need to give them some open-ended tools for them to actually demonstrate their knowledge. And it's also the same with pedagogy. In my research, following expert teachers, tech-savvy teachers who were experiencing a lot of success in terms of academic success and student engagement, they don't stick with one pedagogy. They actually look at the different pedagogies that exist out there, and they take aspects of them depending on what it is that they're addressing, or who the student is, and what will bring the best out of that student. So you will find what I found is that with some students, no matter what age, explicit teaching for concepts that the students were liking was one of the best ways of getting the best out of the students. In terms of that spaced learning and repetitive learning, technology will do it because they can actually demonstrate the knowledge in different ways, but also technology can act as that virtual more knowledgeable other to help the student. So there is not a one solution that will serve everyone. And the same with technology. Usefulness depends on how the students and the teachers act and interact with those technologies and online. They need to also look at what new theories are coming out there. I mean, for a lot of people now, learning is all about navigating different networks and being one of those nodes and learning from each other. But if the students don't have the skills, and especially the critical skills and foundation skills in terms of numeracy and literacy, they cannot effectively navigate those networks. They cannot effectively get the knowledge that they need to. And if their critical thinking is not well developed, then we do have an issue. But what we know is that in school environments, that is the space where they can safely develop those skills under the supervision of the more knowledgeable others. And then when they go home, they know exactly what to do. So I would not advocate for one solution for every student or a specific solution for every teacher. It all depends on the school context and who is involved and what the needs are.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you, Nikolaos. Yeah, you cannot depend on one solution, for every student. No, because they are all individual, and as an educator, it's so essential that you do understand where each student is, and then to find that tool that will help them,
Exactly.
and to use it. Thank you so much, Nikolaos, for your time, for your expertise and your knowledge. It's been a real pleasure and privilege for me to meet, a digital leader such as yourself. So thank you, bottom of my heart. It means so much to me and to my viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. And it was also a privilege for me to be able to talk about digital technology in education. I hope your viewers will get some benefit out of this session. And if you want to discuss further or specific ideas, please don't hesitate to get in
Oh, that'd
touch.
be wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. To learn more about how to successfully integrate technology into your early childhood learning environment, become a member of the ICT in Education Teacher Academy today and gain instant access to over 80 plus online PD workshops, webinar replays, technology integration lesson plans for early childhood education, and ebooks, all for just $20 per month. You'll find the link below this video in the description.